The great winter was nearly over. Life throughout the planet was sparse but stable. There were only a few populations of species that survived the treacherous road to freedom from the freeze. Those that survived were either tightly bonded or aided by some supernatural help. One was the kingdom of Clake, two bonded tribes with a rich spiritual tradition and a deep love for their leader King Chia. The other was a band of eagles that got infected with ancient nanotechnology, making them incredibly coordinated, working much like a hive of bees. They built a massive network that was extremely effective at nest building and over time created a phenomenon, a living metropolis. One day, King Chia received an invitation to attend a summit of the elders, a gathering of 5 remaining tribal leaders. This was a great honor, but it also meant leaving his kingdom in the hands of his 2 twin sons, Ia and Phaiso, respective chiefs of the 2 halves of Claka. Ia oversaw daytime, Phaiso oversaw the nighttime, but they were not rigid in their duties. Despite their separation, the 2 brothers were close in their communications and respected each other's differences. However, the village since their father left began deteriorating. The chiefs did their best to control the situation, but resources were dwindling. The community was fastly facing famine. The fields were dry, the rivers ran low, and the forests were scarce. Something was slowly consuming everything. The fear of facing their father returning home to this dire situation with dwindling resources and the village slipping into chaos was just as terrifying as their fear of the unknown. They were being threatened by something invisible moving throughout the land like a hungry ghost. The 2 brothers were optimistic, contemplating what to do next. Even though this was something they knew nothing about, they proudly took the responsibility on their shoulders, determined to do their best and make their father proud. Little did they know how far their journey would take them.
"We'll fix this. We'll make sure the village has enough food and resources for everyone,"
said Ia.
"Yes, we'll show our father that we are more capable than the great old ones."
So, the 2 brothers set out to address the crisis, determined to do what was best for their people. Ia took an interest in the night and went on an isolated hunt into the plains. There he stumbled upon a shocking sight. A single eagle had become capable of consuming an entire herd of buffalo, leaving nothing but barren land behind. That's when Ian knew that something was not right, and as he approached the eagles, he realized that the technology of the old great ones had somehow learned to replicate and was growing beyond control. Ia had a strong sense of diplomacy, and knew the old ones' technology had grown out of their own control, and so it could only be just as volatile to them. He had been able to disarm most situations with enough attention, but this, however, was nothing like he had seen before. When he tried to explain his brother only saw a destructive picture, and he mirrored that fear throughout the village. Ia tried to balance the emotion with reason, but the fear was too strong, so Ia did not protest his brother, and they decided to act fast to protect the village from the looming threat. They gathered their warriors and prepared for battle. As they approached the miraculous city, Phaiso began to marvel at its beauty. The city felt alive to him, but his twin reflected back the fear and urgency he had rallied for. Fisu took heed in that reminder and instinctively ordered his warriors to wreak havoc and destruction on the city, sending them off in each direction. While that destruction erupted, Ia stood back to observe and decipher which particular eagle was the generator of the drones. He instructed his warriors to focus their efforts on finding that eagle. With such keen directions, they swiftly found and took down the one that was replicating more drones. The chiefs silently watched as that one bird fell. Then they heard the entire city scream. It became apparent to the twins that the city was a hive mind, acting as if one spirit. They had severely wounded it, but definitely did not defeat it. The remaining eagles dispersed, and the warriors quickly did as well. The twins led the return to their kingdom, expecting to celebrate a flawless victory. However, this attack on the Eagle City would have dire consequences. They returned to the kingdom, which was in high spirits hearing of the victory. They prepared to welcome back King Chia from the Elders' Summit. When he returned, the crowd was even more excited. They gathered all around him as he spoke of the great things he saw at the summit. In the midst of the celebration, disaster struck. The kingdom got infiltrated by the eagles, and they were swift and precise in their attacks, going directly for King Chia. Fisu and Ia couldn't react fast enough and could only watch as the eagles assassinated the king within the chaos. The ambush was over just as quickly as it began, and the eagles escaped rapidly. They left the village in absolute turmoil. With King Chia gone, they were lost. He was a major pillar, and with him no longer with them, their foundation was faltering. The pressure from the looming threat of the eagles began to divide them. Some believed they had to apply more force, while others believed that they should learn more. They decided the only thing to do was consult the shaman. They demanded he summon the red horned serpent. The horned serpent was an entity the village periodically communed with for direction. It required a specific and tedious ritual, but the shaman did not hesitate to open the portal for answers. The twin sons of King Chiyu stood in front of the great horned serpent, amazed at the sight of it while still grappling with the reality of their father's death. They struggled to find a question. After a moment, they both yelled out,
How do we stop the eagles?
The serpent spoke irrespective of their emotions.
The eagle spirit is trapped within the technological pollution of your great ancestors. It must be merged with the shadow realm, or it will consume the entire world.
The kingdom was horrified by the news. Realizing the severity of the situation, they understood that they had to act quickly to prevent the destruction of their world, but they were torn, unsure of what the right course of action was. The thought of merging with the spirit of the creatures that had killed their father was too much for them to bear.
We can fight fire with fire. We have spare parts, pieces of nanotechnology. I could put together a weapon.
He said firmly. Fisu nodded in agreement.
We can't just surrender to those beasts. We have to avenge our father's death.
The two brothers, united in their grief and determination, set out to develop a weapon that would destroy the eagle spirit once and for all. They poured all of their energy and intellect into the project, determined to see it through to the end. However, as they worked on the weapon, they encountered many setbacks trying to complete it. The frustration began to build, and the twins grew ever more irritable. One night, they took a break outside to solidify their ideas. They both witnessed an owl sweep down and grab a salamander. Fisu exclaimed,
You see, that is a bad omen. We should abandon this project and attack the city with brutal force.
There is no way that will happen. That thing has adapted to our strategy. We must take it out in one blow.
Their intense debate was so spirited that the voice of their father called out to them both.
Do not fear for that lizard, for it knows now to become a dragon in its next life.
The words echoed miraculously, and the twins, they were taken aback by the sudden manifestation, but still felt their father's presence. Those words gave them a new perspective on the situation. They realized that their problem was not the eagles, but the approach they were taking towards them. They were so focused on some destination, some outcome, that they had lost sight of the journey and forgot about the transformation it could bring. They left the village the following night. When they arrived to the city, things were severely different. The last time they had been here, they had brought war to the cybernetic eagles and suffered a devastating ordeal having to see their father assassinated. Now with that devastation on their hearts, they sensed it within the city as well. With their understanding and awareness, they stepped boldly into the city. Immediately upon entering the city, the beast howled. He and Fisu walked bravely, hearts racing, only walking towards the city's core. They were immediately met with a barrage of drones, which swarmed around them like a cloud of deadly insects. But the chiefs did not falter. They stood their ground, their eyes closed in concentration. The nano swarm swallowed them whole, and the twins vanished from sight. The Eagle City was silent. The drones continued to monitor the area, but the twins were gone, vanished without a trace. And then, in a flash of light, the city exploded. Everything disintegrated into dust, leaving behind nothing but a cloud of black smoke. The dust swirled in the wind, but as it settled, a new figure emerged. It was a god unlike anything this world had ever seen. It had formed into a winged serpent with scales and feathers of pure light, and eyes that shone like stars. As the new god vanished into the sky, the ritual had been completed. That was the end of that era, but the beginning of something new for the kingdom of Kleka. They withstood a great loss, but were rewarded the ultimate protection going forward. The chiefs had fulfilled their sacrifice, and because of their effort, created a brighter future for their tribe. The lizard had become a dragon, and the eagle spirit was set free to return home with the serpent where the new cycle begins.